Hello there, this is Yvonne Teoh Bource from Connect Soul with your soul wisdom for the week of July 16th. And yes, I'm back in Melbourne, back in my woolies because it's a bit chilly going from the tropics down into 3 degrees or whatever it was when I landed. But it's a beautiful day today, and so here we are. So today I wanted to talk about something that occurred to me on my flight home uh, from Malaysia to Melbourne. I usually like to manifest a spare seat beside me, or if I can manage it, 3 seats to myself, which often I am able to do. However, this time I wasn't. I was on an absolutely packed flight. So a young woman was sitting beside me, and from the moment that she sat down, I felt a very heavy energy. She was a beautiful young woman, and as it happened, I don't usually like to talk a lot to people next to me. I like to get into my little cocoon. I get a window seat so that I have the world outside and I can look out the clouds and what we're flying over. But this time I just felt this girl, she wasn't feeling very well, she said. So I then heard that she'd flown from Sri Lanka to Malaysia and had a 5-hour stopover and had eaten something that didn't agree with her. However, there seemed to be another energy that I could feel, which I didn't voice, of course, but when after about 6-hour flight, I asked her if she was feeling better. She started to tell me a story about her life, which often happens to me. The people think, that they want to tell me their story. And I gave her my card, so hopefully if she's watching this, then I want to thank her because she gave me the inspiration for today's topic. Because the heavy energy that I felt was a great energy of sadness, and her soul was really reaching out. And so just to give you a little background of the story that I've heard from her was that she felt incredibly obligated to her family, particularly her mother, who was very old school and wanted to arrange a marriage for her. And as a result of always wanting to please her mother, she had no idea of who she was or what she wanted to do. When I asked her what she was doing, she was just finishing her nursing studies. And this was, I think, the third attempt at a career that each time she just felt she started something and then didn't like it. And so I asked her why she kept doing it, and she said, well, I have to please my mum. I have to do these things because if I don't, my mum gets unhappy. And obviously an unhappy mum was not something that she wanted to experience. And it occurred to me, and I looked at her, and she was so sad telling me the story that she actually started to cry. Because I asked her, what if there was no mum to pull the strings, what was it that she really wanted to be and do? And she said, I have no idea. I said, well, what are you good at? And she said, I don't know. And I realized that this girl, or young woman, had never ever really found out who she was or what her passion was or what she wanted in life. She was just searching to please her mum. And as lovely as that sounds, if you were the mum, it's life destroying. She just didn't know where to go or what to do, and obviously the life force that had created her was at a loss what to do because it wasn't going anywhere it wanted to go or needed to go. And so that gave me the inspiration of talking today about when we give our life away out of a sense of obligation to others. And I have talked about this before, about, wanting to please others. But obligation goes deeper than that. It goes to a place where you feel that you have no choice. An obligation is something that is a heavy, heavy burden. And I thought I would like to just examine that today. Yes, we feel obligated to our parents very, very often. But we can feel obligated to our bosses, right? We give ourselves away for that. And I know someone who will be watching this who is one of my beautiful students who continuously says or said, and I think recent events might have changed that, oh yes, but I can't do that because of work. And she was completely feeling obligated to her work and having to do her work as close to perfection as possible. Unfortunately, or fortunately for her, as I would say, work didn't quite feel that obligated to her. And her life force, because she's on this journey, actually took her to a place where work has suddenly showed her that it wasn't as loyal and obligated to her as she was to it. And that kind of sets you free, because it sets you free to go, hang on a minute, I sold myself out for that. I wasn't doing certain things because of work, or because of my parents, or because of my spouse, or because of my children sometimes, right? How many times do we feel so obligated to do the right thing for our children? And I see that all the time, particularly with women who give that whole time of bringing up their children. They give everything to the well-being of their children, but they forget to give anything to themselves. And then when the children leave, they have this thing called the empty nest syndrome, which then leaves them bereft because they don't remember who they were or what were their passions. They have become estranged to the person that they fell in love with because they haven't had enough time to spend together. And it causes all sorts of terrible emotional trauma. So I'd like you to just examine where in your life, if in your life, you have felt or still feel obligated, where you give up your life or your needs for your life force to express itself in its full glory, as I say. Where do you do that, and when do you do that? And if you do that, can I just ask you, stop? A couple of weeks ago I talked about a no diet, and I can't quite remember what the no diet was about, but I love no diets. I love no diets for a diet where, you aren't able to eat something. I've just chosen to change my way of eating quite dramatically, and so now I'm on a no diet. I go no to that, but I say yes to that, no to that, and yes to that. And learning to say no at the right time to the right things, where you know that if you said yes, it would definitely cause resistance and restriction within you, because you feel it, don't you? When you say, yeah, I'll do that, and something inside of you goes, then you ought not to be doing it, because it's not for your highest good. If it was for your highest good, you'd go, yes, I'll do that. I had a very small example of that while I was at that lovely tropical resort that I've just spent 4 days at. And I tend to be a little lazy sometimes. So my grandson came and said, his 5-year-old bundle of energy, Oma, we're going down to the beach. Are you coming? I'm not a great fan. I live near the beach. I love the sea. I'm not a great fan of sand in my bathers and sand on my body, and I'm a bit precious that way. And so I thought, oh, we are leaving this afternoon. I've got to pack and to get wet again and sandy again, and my clothes, I have to then put things in plastic bag. So all that story was going on. I thought, oh, I don't really want to do that. And I saw the look of disappointment on his face as I said, darling, Irma's just going to do her packing, you know. So I'm packing and I'm thinking, what are you doing? How often do I have time to spend with them because they live in another country? And how often does a 5-year-old want your company? That's not going to last forever. So put up with a little bit of sand, girl. And I suddenly felt, so when I said no to him, I felt quite, But when I decided, get into your bathers, get on some sand, get into the sea, it's very good for you, I felt expanded. So off I went down the beach, and the light in his eyes was all I needed to see. And there I was with both my 2-year-old and 5-year-old grandchildren in the sea, bouncing up and down in the waves, and life was beautiful. It was worth a bit of sun. So learning how to say yes and when to say no is so important. And the way to know is how your body reacts. Just stop analyzing everything up there or asking for answers up there, because no truth lives up there. Mess lives up there. Confusion lives up there. But truth lives here. So anytime that you have to make a decision, then it's so important to feel it in your body. Is your body going yes, or is your body going no? There's your answer. It's not that difficult. So when I was sitting there with this beautiful young woman who wasn't feeling well anyway, who was crying because she felt so lost. She was finishing her nursing degree, and I said, well, what do you like about it? What do you want to specialize in? I don't even know if I want to do it, she says. Now, she's just spent 3 or whatever years studying, and it's not easy. That was my first profession, and so I know, it was my vocation. I love people, so, and I love healing of mind, body, and spirit. So it was the beginning. I started with the body, now I'm into the mind and spirit. So I felt so sad for her, and the sadness was oozing out. She just felt completely powerless. And so she said her brother, who was the golden boy, because he always did as he was supposed to, and he kept to the rules of the old cultures. But those cultures didn't suit her anymore because she's living in Australia, and so it's not what her life path is about, and so it just didn't feel good, and it was making her ill. And it does make us ill when we live our life, for the obligation to others. It will ultimately make us ill. The reason for that is that we do not incarnate, our life force does not create us for someone else. Well, okay. So, I always say I can't get away with anything. So as I said that statement with such strength, I was told that's not always the case. So for instance, if you have someone with a disability in your family, then you may decide, your life force may decide to incarnate to share that lifetime with that person. But in general, we are not created to live a lifetime for someone else. Even if it is to take care of somebody, it is not for them. It is for what you can learn about you in that situation. So we are created for us, for the expansion that is possible for our life force. So if you give that away to please someone else, and let me tell you, that other person that you're trying to please and that you feel so obligated to, that other person is obviously not living their full expression. Otherwise they wouldn't need you. Can you feel the pull to do things to make them feel better? You're not here for that. You know, and there's a secondary thing to that. If you're always putting someone else's needs before your own, you are taking away from them their opportunities to go through their challenges for their own expansion. So you're actually harming their full growth and expansion by always saying yes. One of the greatest moments in my life was one of my most dearest friends who one day, who had always been supportive of me, and I know to this day still is, but I asked her for something and she just looked me in the eye and she said no. And I was quite surprised because she'd never said no to me before. And she said, no, I know you can do it on your own. That was a great gift. You know, and I'll always be thankful to her for it. She won't remember it, but I remember it. And I saw that as a greater gift than if she'd said yes once more. Because she made me face myself and go, no, stop leaning on this person, get out there and make it happen for you, because you're quite capable, which I was. And so sometimes getting a no from somebody is exactly what you need to expand yourself, to take that next step, to have the courage. So I really want you to take a good look at your life and go, where do I give myself away to please others? Where do I say yes when I ought to say no? Where do I allow my own life expansion to be curtailed by someone else's needs? And if you are on the other side, if you are somebody who is expecting someone else to do things that they don't want to do for you, and you feel, you feel you have a right to that, you know, people who are, there's a word for that and it's not coming to me, not self-righteous, but you know, where you feel that you have the right to expect things from people. And it is self-righteous, that is the word, I believe. And so if you have that in you, if you are a bit self-righteous, where you think, well, I deserve that, I've done this. Excuse me, I'm just coming out of a bit of a cold. And so, if you think that you have this sense of deservability from somebody else, I did all these things for you and you now owe me. It's something I see a little bit still in the Chinese culture, because I spent a lot of time with my beautiful Chinese family, where it is in their culture to know that they are obligated to take care of their parents in their older years, and they take that not so much as an obligation but as a payback for the parents taking care of them in their youth. However, if that goes overboard, if the children do it because that's their culture and they do it from the heart with gratitude and grace, then it's fine. But the moment, and I've seen it even in their culture, the moment that the parents say, you will do it my way because you owe me, because I gave you life, then the no comes in. And it's very important to look at that. In many cultures, we struggle because the life force wants to evolve. We are part of this human evolution. And if you're living in a culture that keeps you constrained from that expansion, it's time to say no. And one of the reasons that there is so much turmoil around, in humanity all around the world, is because of this situation where there are too many people trying to control too many other people to do what they want. And we're not here for that. So interesting to me, because if we really understood who we were as a humanity, and we understood that when we listen to this wonderful, amazing life force that keeps us breathing and it makes our heart go, and and we listen to that, we would all be at peace. We would never want to harm another person because it wouldn't come up. Because life is about living. It's not about killing. Life is not about destroying. Life is not about diminishing. Life's about growth and expansion and thriving. But because there have been so many organizations and so many cultures, so many religions and so many governments that have decided that humanity needs to be controlled for their own good, for whose good, we have not thrived. Humanity hasn't thrived. And I've said this to you before. If you've not watched the documentary Thrive, you must. It's available on my website. But is your life thriving? This young woman I'm sitting next to, my heart was breaking for her because she was not thriving. There was nothing about her that was expanding or growing or even feeling any kind of joy. That's not why we're here. When we are self-governing, when we actually take care of ourselves and we look after this beautiful, beautiful opportunity called life, then we will want to take care of everyone's life. Because we have been indoctrinated with the haves and have-nots, we look at others who have and we don't think we have enough, and so we get caught up in this machine, this industrial, material machine that we must have more, we must have more, we must have more. And I can tell you, by the time you get to the twilight years, which I'm supposed to be in, you look around, you go, I look around my house and I go, what does one little woman need all this stuff for? I keep telling myself it's time to cull. And I do every now and then. But we like bowerbirds. We collect stuff in our nests. And we think that makes us happy. But the thing that really makes us happy is when we feel good inside. And what makes us feel good inside is when we put our energy towards things that feel expansive, that feel joyful, that gives us this buzz. That's when life is thriving. So take a good look at your life and really examine, when do you feel that you're in that state of expanded awareness and joy? And when are you not? And do more of the yes, and when you're not in it, do more of the no. This is not for me. I can't commit to this. I apologize if this is making you feel, if you think it's making you feel less, but I cannot sacrifice my life thriving for yours. That is not what we're here for. And let's face it, when you actually demand that from someone, whoa, guess what? It's making you less. We need to look at each other and we need to wish that we're all in joy, in love, in expansion. And if we're not wishing that for another, we need to take a good look at ourselves, because we're not doing it for us. So that was my message, and I do hope this beautiful girl, I didn't ever get her name. I gave her my card, and I hope that she is listening at some stage, because this is for you. Find your love in you, find your passion, find your life force, and follow it, because it will always take you to an expanded experience of joy. So I did find a soul wisdom card. I did have to look for a while because it was a bit more difficult this morning. to find one, but one of the cards that I picked up was independence. And independence is an interesting word to me because I don't believe that we are meant to be completely independent, or we are not meant to be codependent. So this woman's mother was codependent. You know, I can't live without you doing as I want you to. And you need to do that because that makes me feel good, and I deserve my children to make me feel good. Just tells me that she has no life of her own, which is tragic. However, that is a culture that is still going through its changes, and I would really like to, and I honour that. But, you know, we neither need to be completely independent or completely codependent. We have to learn to be interdependent. And that means that, you know, sometimes I need you to lean on, and I will be there if sometimes you need me to lean on. But not all the time, either way. So, this card says, independence, that's according to this, means embracing life from your own center of being. I agree to that. With deep trust between existence and you. It's exactly what I've been talking about. The trust of your life force. Relations with others happen through sharing rather than neediness. In this way, you are interconnected with life and feel complete. This card means look to yourself for your needs. Make your own decisions and live by them. Do not live by others' decisions for you. Do not live by others' needs. Live by yours and live by your expansion. That will give you joy and expansion of life, and you will thrive. And wow, why wouldn't you? Life is a gift. Use it well. So that's it for me today and this week. Have a great week. Love yourself even more and follow your heart. It'll steer you right. Namaste. Have a fabulous week. Bye for now. Oh, and if you want to follow my work, you know all the links are in the description box. And please leave me a comment. See you next time.